Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very delighted to be with you today, and I will try to answer in a very short presentation to some of the issues raised by Tarek in his opening remarks, and to issues also highlighted by His Excellency Mr. Saoud in his opening remarks. And I will try to stick also to the time so I don't take so much, so I have my speaking notes. I will try through this short presentation to put context to our discussions, why we are here as UNEP, why the refrigeration, air conditioning, heat pump sector industry servicing is important to the global agenda, ozone protection, climate change, and how we can make a difference. How to use this? Under the Montreal Protocol, all countries in the world are taking specific time-targeted actions to eliminate their production and consumption of ozone-depleting substances. This is to protect our ozone layer, which is the protective shields of life on Earth. The protocol itself is protecting human health and environment by phasing out almost 100 substances, notably HCFCs and before that CFCs, that harm the ozone layer and that contribute to also climate change. Adopted on 16 September, this will come after a few days, we will celebrate the International Ozone Day. In 1987, the protocol is to date the only UN treaty that ever has been ratified by every country on Earth, 198 member states. The 2016 Kigali Amendment is a game changer that added HFCs to the list of controlled substances under the protocol through a phase-down regime, which makes the protocol one of the biggest tools to achieve climate mitigation. The Montreal Protocol is also the preeminent global policy instrument and financing mechanism that supports the transition of refrigerants in developing countries. However, the work is not even midway, and there are tremendous opportunities of technology and services in your sector, in the refrigeration and air conditioning sector, in developing countries over this decade on HCFCs and over the next 3 decades for HFCs. This is the phase-down schedule for HCFCs. And as you can see, for developing countries, for the Middle East, we are about to achieve total phase-out of all HCFCs by 2030, which is in few years from now. Here you have also the phase-out schedule for HFCs under the Kigali Amendment. And the region is the Gulf region, and most of the Arab countries in the region are falling under Article 5, Group 2, meaning we will start with our targets on 2028 with 85% phase down on 2047, meaning we are now taking steps to comply with this requirement. We need to prepare for the 2028 target. Here, this is very well known to you, the transition of refrigerants over years. The evaluation has passed through 4 stages, as you all know. The GWB is definitely becoming one of the most critical factors in deciding which refrigerant to consider. However, with complexity of having too many refrigerants in the market being offered as medium or long-term solution, there are other important parameters that should be considered when selecting refrigerants. Energy parameters such as efficiency and thermal storage are gaining more importance. Commercial availability and costing are critical for promoting use of alternative refrigerants. The bottom line is that decision-making of considering a suitable refrigerant is a complex process that requires thorough analysis, especially with so many options being offered in the market. And we notice this. Most countries are now struggling to select suitable alternatives, especially in countries where we have high ambient temperatures like the GCC. While the HFC policies are extremely important and are making great progress, let me pause here with a cautionary message. We are not on track with addressing climate change, which is the paramount environmental issue of our time. The world is still heading for a temperature rise in excess of 3 degrees centigrade this century, far beyond the Paris Agreement goals of limiting global warming to below 2 degrees and pursuing 1.5 degrees centigrade. As a consequence, the levels of ambition in the Paris Agreement must be roughly tripled for the 2 degrees centigrade pathway and increase at least 5-fold for the 1.5 degrees centigrade pathway. Refrigerant transition and energy efficiency work related to Kigali Amendment and Montreal Protocol should be part of that increased ambition. This is the importance of refrigeration and air conditioning in achieving the ambitions under Paris Agreement and any other agreement on ozone or climate change. Here we talk about the Agenda 2030. All UN member states, which includes your governments, have agreed to 17 goals and 169 indicators to improve humanity and the world we live in. However, none of them have any clear mention of or reference to your sector, the refrigeration and air conditioning. The contribution of refrigeration and air conditioning is essential for human comfort, air quality, food preservation, and security, health services, and even information technology. We can easily connect how the refrigeration air conditioning positively impacts, either directly or indirectly, many of the SDGs, ranging from public health, quality of life, environmental protection, technological development, and education and employment. All can be easily connected, but not quantified. Hence, not quite visible to policymakers in terms of impact and socio-economic indicators, except when it comes to visible area like energy efficiency and emissions reduction due to the high attention of the climate change goal. Some of the facts that we need to consider during coming years. The building sector offers the most cost-effective mitigation potential of any industrial sector and co-benefits, including job creation, improved indoor and outdoor air quality, improved climate resilience, and adaptive capacity. Population growth and energy bill. International Energy Agency has arrived at interesting conclusion in its Future of Cooling report, which is an important document for the refrigeration sector, which says almost 2/3 of households in developing countries didn't purchase yet their first AC unit. Therefore, the scenarios of increased population of units in the 3 decades to come will be phenomenal, especially in many emerging developing economies where the purchase power is notably increased, like China and India. Of course, the demand for additional power generation capacities is the natural result of such increased demand. Therefore, the world have no other way but to invest in upgrading energy efficiency programs, so-called MEPs, through enforceable and verifiable mechanism while industry catches up with to comply with such policies. Potential greenhouse gases reductions. Emissions from cooling are expected to double by 2030 and triple by 2100, driven by heat waves, population growth, urbanization, and growing middle class. By combining energy efficiency improvement with transition away from super-polluting refrigerants, the world could avoid cumulative greenhouse gas emissions equal to 4 to 8 years of total emissions of 2018 levels. This is a very big reductions to achieve. Marcos mentioned in his remarks about food waste and loss. 1.3 billion tons of food is lost or wasted. That is 1/3 of the total food produced for human consumption. Losses due to lack or insufficiency in refrigeration can occur at the stages of processing, packaging, distribution, transport, and storage, and consumption. As you can see, the developing countries are lacking of required capacities for refrigeration and air conditioning, and this means we are wasting almost 1/3 of the food we produce for human consumption. Refrigerant markets. Business is not anymore as usual. Between 2020 and 2040, many markets in developing countries will have units that operate with HCFC 22, HFCs 410A, HFC 32, HC 290, and other HFOs. This will put forward additional challenges for the refrigeration and air conditioning sector. And here comes the importance of the certification programs, safety considerations, drop-in refrigerants, retrofitting, and conversions, access to technology, informal servicing sector, refrigerant containment, energy efficiency performance, and certification, and training and certification of rack technicians. These are challenges before the sector, and maybe one of the good answers to such challenges to have active associations, either local or regional, and we cooperate also with global association. There are several cooling initiatives within UNEP. Because of the importance of refrigeration and air conditioning, UNEP has several initiatives on cooling. And since I represent the Montreal Protocol family, I will focus more on how Ozone Action Program operates, along with examples from engagement with HVAC Association worldwide. These are some of the initiatives we have. Some of our partners. Some examples of our programs and active projects with partners, including universal training kits for refrigeration air conditioning technicians, HFC's outlook to estimate and foresee the trends, growth trends in HFCs in countries, national certification programs for technicians. We work with all these well-known bodies, including a program specially launched last year to enhance the presence of women in refrigeration and air conditioning. I think I'm taking too much time, so I will jump to the conclusion. If you see the whole chart, all will take us to the importance of the HVAC sector, in achieving the goals we want to achieve at the global level. In terms of HVAC sector, the main policy drivers with respect to ozone and climate targets start with the overarching objectives set by all UN members. Your governments are part of the objectives we have mentioned and part of the SDGs we have mentioned. National environment and energy policies, corporate sustainability goals, and demand for the market all shape the refrigeration and air conditioning position toward greenhouse gas emissions. At the international level, the two main policy levers are the Paris Climate Accord and the Montreal Protocol, and linked to both are national zero net emission goals. The Montreal Protocol seeks to reduce emissions of ozone-depleting substances by phasing out HCFCs, and thanks to the recent Kigali Amendment, reduce greenhouse gas emissions by phasing down HFCs and promoting energy efficiency. Thus, by both addressing both direct and indirect emissions, the Montreal Protocol is a powerful instrument to achieving greenhouse gas reductions objectives and contributing to zero net emissions. The nexus of all this activity is the refrigeration and air conditioning sector. You are at the very epicenter of climate change mitigation, and you are at the refrigeration and air conditioning the key to the success of the Montreal Protocol. It is critically important for HVAC sector industry to continue to communicate better through associations with the policymakers to share their technical expertise, perspectives, and support them in crafting informed and effective policies to ensure that the voice of industry is well reflected. I thank you very much.